it was given to us. We appreciate, Lord, this chance to be connected as a group, as a Spirit's house in FSS, to understand, or at least make efforts to understand, what being an immortal spirit is. We ask for blessings, inspiration, and that every word coming out of this study, every thought coming out of this study, every feeling coming out of this study would help us in our progress towards God. So be it. So thank you all for being here today, and thanks FSS for this opportunity to be here with you. It's really heartwarming, and it fills us with joy to take this hour or so and share some experiences we have, and today especially focus on the understanding of this world we live in as immortal spirits. Is it on? I think it might be here in this computer, not me. Okay, excuse us for a second. So this will be helpful. So how do we see the world as we live it? Like, we have all the sensations in our body, right? We see, we hear, we experience things. But there is one dimension of this life which is way more important than the others, and the Spiritist doctrine help us to know a little bit more about this other side, right? And knowing this existence of the spiritual world opens new windows for us to see what is out there in this life. But it's very important to see this, to understand this context as immortal spirits. And actually this one is just the beginning of probably a series of talks about this theme, like understanding the world as immortal spirits. That's what we're doing today. In another opportunity, we're talking about feeling the world as immortal spirits, and eventually living the world as immortal spirits. So today we're gonna lay down the foundations of this train of thought, starting with the understanding. And we are very familiar with this triangle at this point now. So where we understand and feel to actually live, and these things, they happen simultaneously. It's not that you understand, then feel, then live. But then understanding the world as immortal spirits, it's the very first thing. And to be totally honest with you guys, it's the aspect of this experience that I've been having with FSS that completely changed my life, my attitudes, and also my efforts to try and see the world as immortal spirits, to understand myself as immortal spirits, and try to apply that in every situation of the life. So, how does the knowledge you have, how does the knowledge you have about the spiritual world change how you perceive your experience here on earth? So this question is like to kick off initial reflection that will happen individually with each one of you. But then what you should be asking yourself here is that, okay, how does the knowledge you have about the spiritual world? And then the first question is, what is my knowledge about the spiritual world, right? What do I know about it? Well, we could, it will be fair to say that we have some knowledge because we're here, right? We have experienced the doctrine. we have experienced the lessons of Jesus and the studies by Kardec. So we do have this knowledge, but then the question is how it change, how we perceive our experience, and how it change how we see things that happen to us every day. And the moment we start doing that more often, we'll be connecting to what really means, what is really meaningful to this life, which is not like this life, this body, this matter, is what's like beneath it, like the immortal spirit. It is common that we could have some knowledge and still don't know what to do with that. Like you're just living your life, so life is flying by and nothing is changing regarding your perception or your attitudes towards life. But that's a very lovely invitation that we'll have from Jesus, from the enlightened spirits, to stop just wandering around. There's some things that we can do to help us connecting with this, with the truth of God and the immortal spirits that we all are. And the question is should we change it? So after we have this knowledge of the spiritual world, should we change anything? Should we keep doing what we've been doing, or are there any things that we can do, or any things that we can start acting and developing as virtues or good things that we can do to the society as a whole after we know there is a spiritual side in our life? So should we change it? And the answer is yes, because as we're going to see in a few slides, there's a clear invitation for action coming from the gospel and coming from the Spiritism as Kardec compiled it. So the message here to this slide is, should we change it? And the answer must be a very loud yes. Spiritism is coming here, it came to our life to change a few things about us, but not to change for bad, right? It's not to change for the sake of changing. It's changing to actually pursue the true happiness. How does that work? So on question 799, Spirit's book, when we're talking, so the chapter goes along the way of how Spiritism can help the progress of society, of man. And in what way can Spiritism contribute to progress? That's a very, it's easy to understand this question. And the answer is, it's giving us good hints of on what to do. So by destroying materialism, which is one of the swords of society, and thus making men understand where their true interest lies. So we are familiar with this concept of letting go of our materialism and then focusing on what is important. And the question here, the answer here also points out to where our true interest lies. And one question to ask ourselves is, okay, where is my true interest lying on? Am I very interested in things that are happening in this life? Am I interested in things that I will carry on to future existence? Well, it is already pinpoint to the true interest and what it should be. And so the answer goes on, the future life being no longer veiled by doubt, men will understand more clearly that they can ensure the happiness of their future by their action in the present life. So first thing of all, so this future life, there's no doubt about it anymore. And that's the key point of a pivotal point that after you know this, it is calling for action. But this future life is no longer a doubt. It will happen. So if our true interest was about this life, then the future life wouldn't matter, right? But that's not the case. That's not what we learn from the enlightened spirits. What matters is the future life, and it will be clear to us with Spiritism that we can ensure this happiness in the future. So we can make sure it will come. But how? Based on the actions. Actions. It's a very, very active word. Like it's actions. The things that we do in the present life. And here he's talking about, of course, like different lives, right? But of course, in this life even, we can ensure the happiness of the next 10 minutes by the things I'm doing or thinking now, right? Am I open to the experience I'll be facing 10 minutes from now or one day from now? So we can ensure future happiness. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Of course, because of the divine laws, and it's where I explained in question 115, we know that every one of us will have a mission, and we will eventually find happiness coming closer to God. And that's where the true happiness will be there. But we can, by understanding this concept of future life, we can ensure future happiness, but it depends on the things that we do, like now. By destroying the prejudice of sects, castes, and colors, it teaches men the large solidarity that will one day unite them as brothers. And the word highlighted here is teach, because if someone is teaching, there is someone learning, right? And in our case here, we're here to learn, of course. We're learning through the experiences we have in life. We're learning through the choice we make. We're learning through for being here and having this connection with each other. But then the Spiritism as a whole, as a doctrine, it will teach us how to approach that happiness, that future happiness. But that means we have to actually act as immortal spirits, because that's what Spiritism tells us, right? So there's not only this life, you are immortal spirit, and that's actually the focus that should be the focus of our actions. And then, still trying to explain why we need to do this, comes a passage from Genesis chapter 1, item 20. The simple fact that it's possible to communicate with beings of the spiritual world opens up to us incalculable consequence of the highest gravity and importance. So the simple fact we know it is something very important. Here a new word is revealed to us, and one which is so much the more important in that it awaits all men without exception, even those who don't believe in this spiritual side of the universe. So this word is awaiting for them, right? So it's so much important that it's part of us, and there's no way to refute that or to try to disconnect, right? So then again, pointing towards the immortal spirit as the focus of our actions. And it goes on. So the knowledge concerning it cannot fail to produce, in a general sense, a profound modification in customs, characters, habits, and beliefs which exert so great an influence upon man's social life. So if this knowledge, and remember, we're still talking about the knowledge part of the triangle, right? If this knowledge does not produce these modifications in our customs, habits, something it's off, right? It's not, we're definitely not understanding it, right? We're for sure not feeling it, and very unlikely living it as we should. So if the knowledge, it's not producing this modification, and that's something that we should like ask ourselves again, and then how is it modifying my life? What I'm doing differently? And if we don't do that, we're missing this point. And don't. It's not time to feel guilty or anything, because we're all there, right? There's always something about our spiritual, our immortal being that we might be missing, and that's part of the journey. That's we need to accommodate that, like deep in our hearts, and say, you know what, I'm an apprentice. I'm still learning how to do things. And then it goes back to this floating animal, floating cartoon. So I wouldn't say it's a wake-up call, because we're not trying to put out a sense of fear, of anxiety. No, it's just a love invitation that we get from Jesus and from the enlightened spirits to make some meaning out of this, how we go through life, how we navigate life. Maybe put an exclamation mark here and a smile on our face, right? That'll be amazing, like that satisfaction that we know what we're doing, that's fulfilling me, and going forward with a purpose. So then, understanding the world as immortal spirits. I told at the beginning of this presentation, this is a theme that is very dear to my heart, and over the years I've come up with a few like kind of exercises, things that work for me at least, that I would like to share and see if that will make sense for you. And it's definitely helping me to understand the world as immortal spirits. So here's an invitation. At the end of the day, not now, at the end of the day, so list 3 mundane things that happen in your day and try to answer these questions. So 3 mundane things, like things that you learn, things that you connect, you share with others, things that happen in your life, or car accident, or my kid is sick, or anything in your life. And then try to answer this question: how do I understand it as an immortal spirit? Right? So I had a car accident. So how do I understand it as an immortal spirit? My child is sick. I had an argument with my mother. How do I understand it as an immortal spirit? I read an interesting book, maybe not from the Spiritism. I read a magazine, let's say, and then about economics or politics. Okay, so how do I understand it as an immortal spirit? Are things strictly belong to this world, or are things that will eventually be an opportunity for us to leak that knowledge towards future life, right? What I'm proposing here today is to walk the talk, to basically, let's do a few of these exercises. Full disclosure, I've done some of these June, I guess, earlier this year, on Monday, in Portuguese, but the case studies here are slightly different. So whoever was there was not going to be bored, I guess. So how to understand things as immortal spirit? And this exercise, it really helped. It could help us. It certainly helps me to. There are many things happening in our life, and it's very easy. It's kind of, let's say it's easy to focus on only this particular piece of it. So, and then not translate that into the immortal spirit. But how to do that? So I'll start with story number 2 for different reasons, mostly because of time. But and I'm not a great storyteller, so bear with me. I'd love to be a great storyteller. I'm not. So these are things that I I heard it recently, hearing some podcasts that I like, and there's a story behind it, and I'll try to pass along the story, and then in the end the exercise will be like, at least I'll tell you how I felt as an immortal being. So there's one story from Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert, he's a professor at Harvard University. And it is actually a chat with him, with the host of the Hidden Brain podcast at NPR, and the title, it's You 2.0 Decide Already. And what is interesting here is that they are discussing how human beings, they predict their feelings in the future. So this is very important when you're making a decision, right? You have path A and path B to decide. So if I choose A, how am I going to feel after that? If I choose B, how am I going to feel after that? So, and we as human beings are very bad at predicting how we're going to feel when something happens, right? And one example that is discussed is that, so imagine a year you get a divorce, you lost your job, and you have like big health issues in your family, right? So if you think about it, how you're gonna feel after the end of this year, it's like, it's gonna be very tough, right? So I'm gonna probably be miserable, gonna probably be like reaching out for help and so on. But then, if you ask someone that goes through it, they might say, you know what, it was better than I expected. I felt this strength through God or through other connections they might have, that, it was better than I expected. So we as human beings, we tend to perceive future bad experience as really bad, something that, if that happens, I'll die, right? No, I cannot get a divorce, otherwise I don't know what to do. I cannot lose my parents because they are my rock, and I don't know what to do without them. So these type of things, and that's very interesting, because for those we are not fighting, but we are trying to put all the efforts to develop this happiness based on the truth in the present, right? This happened to me right now, and I need to be okay with that, because it's part of a bigger plan that I don't see now. And putting that feeling in the future is even harder. That's why there's this connection about how we predict and how we're actually gonna feel. But then, what is the best? Well, according to their studies, right? What is the best predictor of future feeling? If you're curious about a movie, and you have two options, you could either watch the trailer, 60 seconds of how it's gonna go and all that voice, and two kids lost in the forest, blah, blah. So there's the trailer that will lay you down a few aspects of the movie. And the other option is you go to IMDb and you check the review of thousands of people, how people felt about it. And people tend to say that, if I have these two choices to see how I'm gonna like the movie, to predict how I'm gonna like the movie, they will choose a trailer. Because we tend to think we are very unique in this aspect. There will be something that my experience with that movie will not relate to anyone else's experience, because I'm a unique human being. But it's not, actually. So the best predictor of how you're gonna enjoy that movie, it's by actually reading the reviews of that movie, right? And say, like, you go to IMDb, you guys don't know where IMDb is, so it's thousands of people review a movie, how you like it, and so on. So if you read go there and say, like, the movie is rated 4 out of 5, you are more likely to like the movie because of that. Because you're tapping from experience, from someone else's experience, right? Okay, and that's the story. That's how it goes with their conversation, predicting future states of feeling and sensations and so on. So, okay.
In this case, if I have some situation in my life that is giving me some conflicts. So would be great if I could find someone that had passed through that experience before, so I could get some reviews or some help how they dealt with that situation, and they can give me some tips.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's one point how I translate this into what does that mean to my immortal spirit. But the question is, that was the very first point. The question is, who are you going to look for to give you suggestions?
So, and the question, extend the questions is the who, by who you say someone that's purely materialist, that doesn't believe in future lives, or someone who is a spiritist and thinks.
Go a bit further.
Yeah, go a bit further.
Go a bit further. So it's someone. You're talking about someone that has like this. Lives a spiritual life. Let's say, right? We have that have gone through those situations, right? So then, so the translation is you're gonna try to learn from other experience. I guess that's the I didn't think about that before. So learning from someone else's experience, but whose experience are we gonna tap to? And the spiritual world is opening up to us, giving all this message, all this knowledge and experience coming from the spiritual world. So if we're going through this situation and you wanted to ask for guidance, help, we have tons of material from enlightened spirits that said, you know what, these are the things that we faced. Or they teach you, if you keep your pride, things will not go well, right? If you're being selfish, it's not going to bring you far down the road. You have Jesus with all his teachings and saying like, here's the realm of God. This is the path. This is the truth, right? And this is going back again to the question 115 in the Spirit's book. So there's an enlightened spirit saying the path towards happiness and being close to God is to, develop virtues. And these are the things that when that this story which is totally like talking about this world, right? It's talking about things that is happening in psychology aspect and so on. But then how to translate that into something different, how to translate it into something that touches me as. So the question is, as an immortal spirit, where do you get the reviews? And that's a very important question. Where do you get your reviews? So how are you going to learn? Well, you can definitely do it by experience, right? You can always choose the trailer and say, you know what, I don't care about like what the others are saying, I'm going to pick this path and go. But of course, we know there are consequences if these actions are not aligned with the divine laws, right? But then if you want to have some guidance, we definitely have a lot of material to support us. And then the question is like, what is my IMDb of the spiritual world? So who I'm getting to? And the answer is very, very clear. It's Jesus. Point. It's very clear to us that he's the North Star. Like he's the one that should aim for. And of course, there are other enlightened spirits or superior spirits that had helped us in many different ways. And so that's it. That's the exercise. Like from about this topic. That's what I guess moved you guys, and also that moved me at this point to take something that is mundane into something that is that has some expanded meaning, let's say. So, story number 2, again from podcast from NPR, Hidden Brain, U 2.0, The Empathy Gym, and it's a talk with Jamil Zaki. He is a professor in Stanford University. And the whole conversation goes along the lines that empathy can and should be practicing. So it's like a muscle. If you exercise it, you're eventually getting stronger. And there's so many benefits, and there's no point maybe going deep through that. So many benefits that empathy will have in our life, right? There's also some controversy related to empathy, because when you are, and this is all part of the conversation, the interview, right? I'm just going through the story. Like when you are part of a tight group, whatever, social group, religious group, you name it, right? If you're part of a tight group, the empathy in between that group, it goes like a skyrocket. But the empathy to those outside that group tends to drop. Right? So there is this controversy related to empathy, like as the closest you are to a certain group, it seems that people tend to be less empathetic with others that are uncommon or strange. So, and then I go discussing this and how things are, how to exercise empathy and so on. It goes along the lines of, in urban life, most of the human contact you have throughout your day are very informal or mechanic. So like, hi, morning, can I get a coffee please? Or, oh, someone open the door, thank you. So it's something that's very mechanic, right? There's no time or no interest in developing deeper connections with someone that is outside your group or outside of your interest at that moment. I want to just grab a coffee and go. I don't want to chit chat with the bartender or with the, how they call it, the barista. So, and this is a very interesting thing to compare, like urban life and rural life when things are kind of more laid down and then you have like time to chat. Hey, how's it going? And so on. So, and no, blame on us. Like my neighbor on the left, I don't think I ever said more than good morning, good night. My neighbor on the right, no, we've been in contact, but isn't that weird? Like it is so weird. So in a sense, I'm being way less empathetic to my neighbors than to you guys here, for instance, right? And should that be the point, right? That's not a lesson. We should see all of us as brothers, right? So here's one experiment they did.
Yeah. I add one point.
Yeah, please.
You can be the most sympathetic as you can, but if they don't want,
No.
you have to respect that for
Oh,
everyone, right?
no, of course.
Most of the times they just don't want a relation.
Of course.
And respecting is very important.
Wouldn't they be thinking the same thing?
Yeah, could be.
So
The word is empathy. If you don't see the empathy just in a hi, good morning, it's a clue.
But the tricky part here is to understand this feeling that, am I closing the doors just because it's someone totally outside my group? I might have nothing in common with my neighbor, my left neighbor. Right?
Am I being anti-pathetic?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's the key point, because it might be that I just think that there's nothing in common we can find, and so it might be an awkward conversation. I don't know, but I was never to that place and see like, hey, how does it feel, right? So it's something. That's why empathy is like a muscle. It's you gotta be open to this experience. But yeah, of course, it's a two-way road, right?
Yeah.
Here goes an experience they did. Yes.
Can I just add someone more? I think what you're trying to communicate and trying to put words in your mouth is that our visions as, maybe I'm already skipping a few slides here, but our vision as an immortal spirit is to be able to exercise these virtues regardless of where we are, right? So this podcast was specifically to empathy, right? But because we have this way broader vision, that's not only one virtue that we have to develop, but hundreds of thousands of them, right?
Yeah.
And we should be exercising them everywhere, in every environment that we are. We should be Christians everywhere, regardless if we're at work, in a speech, right? Or with my kids, or drinking beer at a bar, whatever, right? I think that's the main behavior.
You got it. Because when you're talking about groups of empathy, like, what is my group as an immortal spirit? That's exactly what you're saying.
In other words, it's the universe. It's the whole universe, right?
Yes. So let me go through this experiment they did with Manchester United fans. It's a soccer team in England. And so they got a group of fans. They asked, a group of fans in a room asked, a dissertation, let's say, why they love Manchester United so much, right? And then so they did. And the experience was, so let's go to a different building. You're going to watch a movie from the best highlight of Manchester United this season or something like that. In the way to the other building, there was an actor jogging and faking that kind of twisted his ankle, right? So as the group was walking the street, there was a jogger and then felt like, as an actor saying like, oh, I hurt my ankle and so on. The actor, for some groups, the actor was wearing a Manchester United shirt. For the other group, the actor was wearing Liverpool shirt. And for the third group, a black shirt. So nothing related to sports, right? And of course, it's sad to say, but of course, when they saw someone hurt with the Manchester United shirt, they went there and said they would help right away. When they saw Liverpool, they kind of even laughed about it and said, like, too bad for you. And when it was a black shirt, they also didn't care. So this is the type of empathy we're talking about. Is very dangerous. But there's a good side on it, like slightly good side on it. They take same experiment and they ask them to write what do they love about soccer. A group writing like why did they love soccer so much, right? They're all still Manchester United fans. And then they did the same experiment, 3 different groups, black, Liverpool shirt, and Manchester United shirt. And for this group that wrote about why they love soccer so much, they also helped the Liverpool guy. So, because it kind of primed them, there's something in common with us, is our love for soccer. So then, at that point, believing that someone wearing a Liverpool shirt became part of the group, right? But they didn't help the black one, with the one in a black shirt. So, goes back to Bruno's point, and that's exactly how I translate these things to this immortal spirit. Like, we can live here, hate someone that lives in Edmonton, people in Edmonton hate someone living in Calgary, but we're all Albertans. We're all Canadians. And then take one step further. As an immortal spirit, and that's the key point. As an immortal spirit, what is our group? This brotherhood, it's way larger than we tend to think of it.
But it's very difficult to like Trudeau.
You know what? As an immortal spirit,
we should love it, but
as an immortal spirit, Trudeau is something from this world, like it's something that is impacting our life here. But the question is, how it's going to impact my life in the future, right? If Trudeau is like, it pulls a pin in your thing, so then is that time to exercise patience or try to exercise a different virtue that will help you not in this life or this year or the next year, but something that you can carry along over different dimensions. Like that's a good example, like how things that move us related to this world, that is particular to this life, Trudeau won't be alive 115 years from now. So how can I see that as immortal spirit? And that's a very good exercise.
I guess I could add that how the circumstances in our lives can help us to learn and help us in our essence life.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to be better as immortal spirits.
Yeah. Because we tend to think that this is just a car crash, like there's nothing to do with my immortal spirit. This is just an election. Has nothing to do with my future happiness. or by future mean different lives, right? But that's exactly the role that we're talking about now. So I skip the story number 1 because of time. We'll have time to do story number 4, and this is quite shocking. So drones and inhumanity. So again, it's still the same podcast, like empathy gym. And it's a story of someone living in the US. He's from Iraq, so he moved to the US in the 90s. And then at some point, he's a performing artist, right? He's someone that, like, it's an artist. Although, coming from the science part, sometimes it's very hard to understand that what's an artist mean. But he's a performing artist, and he's from Iraq. And at some point, the U.S. military were like bombing Iraq using drones, right? So basically, no human intervention. It was like just someone with a joystick, and then killing people or destroying facilities or whatever. So, and he felt, of course, it was his home country. He felt very touched about it and said how to raise awareness of that. And it goes through many different dimensions. So he set up an experiment in one art gallery. So he got a room, a white room, with a lamp. He set up a computer that people could connect into it with a webcam, and also a paintball gun. You know, paintball, like you can like shoot and get all these things and colors and stuff. So there was a paintball gun pointing towards the room, and people on the internet, over the internet, could control the gun and eventually shoot, right? And he was going to be there for 30 days. And the experiment was to say how people can go through this trace of inhumanity when they're just playing like, it's gonna be like a video game. I'm shooting a human being, but it's just like a video game. And he was exposing himself to that to raise awareness of what was going on. So he was shot 70,000 times. So people from all over the world, and he was of course broadcasting this live, right? So you have someone else from Canada, someone else from Argentina, and poof, and then you get shot. People see it was not very painful, but it hurts, right, when you get shot. When he was sleeping, people shooting him when he was sleeping. At some point, day number 11, he was afraid of going to sleep. Someone aimed for many times the lamp, the only lamp that he had, to like put him on the dark. And that goes towards like when you're not connecting. So there was no empathy whatsoever of these people shooting him because she was on a computer screen, and that happens so often in our society now. Just because you're protected by your screen, you can type in whatever trash that comes to your mind at the moment and do very stupid things because there's this sense of protection and there's no sense of empathy to whoever is on the other side. There is hope, and that's how we're going to translate this to the immortal spirit. There is hope. He was shot 70,000 times, and that's a lot. But on the day 13, when his lamp was shut down, someone who was actually watching it went by a Target store, bought a lamp, and went there and knocked their door and said, hey, here's a lamp for you, and helping out, changing the lamp. People were, and that was the most amazing thing, at some point in the experiment, there was a group of people, a small group, 50 or so, I don't remember the number yet, a small group of people from all over the world, they were basically protecting him. They were connecting and putting the gun down so no one else could shoot him, right? So as long as any of those people were connected, they were, if you log in, try to aim to him, and then someone else would log in and then aim out. And that's the story, right? And they discuss like how empathy goes on, how people are disconnected when they're using the internet and so on. So how can we translate that to immortal spirits? How do I understand it as an immortal spirit? Let me have my go. I understand it as we are living in a world that is transitioning. I understand that we're living in a world that It's going to become a regeneration word soon, but currently we do have the evil, the predominance of the evil actions. But it's changing, and also what it touched me the most is that you could have 70,000 people trying to make harm, but it took only 50 people or so trying to do good and show there is huge hope in humanity. And when I translate it to my Immortal Spirit, it's like, okay, what are the things that I'm doing? What are the things that I could do to be this source of light in these times of let's say, darkness? So these are the exercises that I wanted to go with you. Again, it's part of something bigger. I'm still trying to get things connected. So understanding the world as immortal spirits, and then feeling the world and living the world as immortal spirits. And here goes the invitation again. Just to, if nothing at all, it will help us getting this connection with what really matters in this life, the immortal spirit, the things that will bring along on the ride over many existences. I'm not sure exactly how you're gonna do the passes. I think we wait for the kids, right, Eric? We wait for the kids to be done, right?
Yeah, well, we have
5 minutes or so.
9 minutes.
Okay, so then I would like to open for questions, or for you to share your points of view and how you understand this. You can also call me out and say, Renzo, like, woo-oo! Cuckoo!
No.
There's a documentary on Netflix called Happy. I think it's from 2016 or so. And this documentary is talking about the positive psychology, and it's interesting that this is really, they're trying to show us how things that we believe will be making us happy will not making us happy, like search money and or material things. So like money and material things, they are important if you're not, if you don't have anything to eat, if you don't have some place to sleep. So yeah, economic will be something important for you. But after some comfort zone, everything else will be no difference for your happiness. But the point I want to stack is when people pass through tough times in their lives, after all the process, after everything, they feel better than before. They feel happier than before. So this is one thing that makes us happy, to pass through the process of something that's not good for us or for people around us.
They'll be happier than they thought they would be.
No, not
They'll
during the process. After the
exactly.
process.
So they thought they would be not happy. They thought they would be miserable, right? But then after they go through it, that's what they're saying. After they go through it, they feel happy. Yeah.
They feel happier than before.
Yeah.
So and they
Okay,
share like
I know. I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
they share like a thoughtful story of a girl that it was her face was like changed, and like she was ugly after the accident, and even after the recovery, but she was telling that she feel happier now than before when she was beautiful and everything. So there's something else during the process of like material and maybe contact with this immortal sense and for the important things in our lives. So, it's really interesting, and I think it's well connected with one of your stories.
Oh yeah. This is true, and I really appreciate this exercise of I just watch a movie or read a story or experience something in my life and say, okay, now it's in Portuguese we say "eu quico," right? You kick meu espírito volta a ver com isso. So what's that to absorb from a immortal spirit point of view, right? That's yeah, I'm glad that you're bringing that up because it's another, so someone else maybe watching that in the future would, yeah, it's a nice documentary and so on, and then, but it ignites a reflection at the end, you know, like, okay, so how should I understand this? Yeah, thanks a lot.
I have another interesting example, right? Here you're invited for 3 things. I think that's a good start. I think we should do this for every phrase that we hear.
Yeah.
And in our lives from now on, right? And I'll say an example. I was in a seminar this Friday, right? And there was this speech. You know, she came and talk about innovation, right? And so far so good, right? And then she said something about comfort zone, right? We usually don't like to innovate much, right? Because we want to stay in that space that we know. Innovation is difficult. I don't know. Everyone here knows that, right? And then she said, "Oh, I think this is where I'm trying to get at. I think, or more or less, this is implicit in our DNAs. Look at this, because for our ancestors, like 5 million years ago, if they were to innovate, searching for new food or trying to do something else, there would be some animal that would eat them, right? Look how this is very materialistic." And then immediately I thought, seriously, right? Okay, everyone seems to be, okay, no, how cool that explanation makes sense, right? But does it really make sense if we look at the problem as an immortal spirit, right? In our DNAs are right, what, proteins or whatever? How can a protein, right, so survive 5 million years and now influence how I'm doing things now?
Yeah.
Right, this is obviously, right, the explanation for this is obviously coming from the spiritual world, from the immortal spirit, and from the attitudes and habits that we carry after millions of years ourselves, right, or thousands of years at least living on this planet, right? So that's another thing, way, right? I immediately thought, okay, this is very superficial, right? And the real explanation lies somewhere else, which isn't being addressed here, right? So.
But you mentioned listing 3, right? And of course there will be many, and it's just the start of the exercise actually. So because the first thing you have to bring awareness to it, so you have to know like, oh hey, it's connected with my understanding of my immortal spirit, or it is very meaningful to my immortal spirit, but then the action and the feeling, it has to come along, right? But we've been doing this here at FSS for years now to promote this type of reflection, and which is very important, very important. There's no way, and it's not that we're saying that, it's written there in Spirit's book and then with Kardec, and this is the moment it has to drive this reflection, and then the change of attitudes, change of habits, and so on. But the very first part is that, okay, what does really matter is the immortal spirit. Thanks for sharing. All right.
Well, we don't have anything with the kids, but I would like to once again just highlight the importance of this seminar this workshop that we're doing next weekend. Very important to understand that we are in a world that don't understand ourselves as immortal spirits. And one of the main reasons we can notice it is the number of suicides we see every day. So come and join us. It's a very, very important topic to understand. It's not something to be taken as a kid, but it's really understanding deep how this wound of our society can be healed, starting with us. Thank you, and join us on next Sunday. And we'll go to the passes.